時間なんて気にしない気分は最高だけどびっくり世界がどんどん
Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 10 of The Spy Who Loved Megaranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Denji Sentai Megaranger. Every week, we watch an episode of the show, and we share our thoughts with you, the listener. My name is Matt J, and with me, as always, is my co-host and brother, Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
I'm all right.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Doing. Just doing. Just straight ahead, just doing it up. Just doing another day here, Dave.
Mm-hmm. So we're back.
Welcome back.
It's been a few weeks.
Been a heck of a couple of weeks, Dave.
Exciting times.
In some ways,
I don't
sure.
want to. Yeah, in some ways. Depending on whether, you care about human beings or if you're a horrifying monster, I guess.
And Dave, speaking of horrifying monsters and caring about human beings, today we are watching episode 10 of Denji Sentai Megaranger, titled Farewell, Sorrowful Android. Just wanted to get the...
thank you. It's a very good episode.
It's a good episode. Pretty good transition, too. Realized it was sort of a hard shift. Shift.
Real hard. Well, there's a lot of hard shifting going on right now, Matt.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Dave. How about...
See, that would have been great if we were still doing Car Ranger. That would have been a very good jumping off point.
We can do an episode of Car Ranger. I still got my old notes somewhere.
Nah, I'm all right.
I want to do... here, what do we got? Episode 45? Let's see. I think Kisuke was dreaming of catching Zanette before she hopped on a bus. Tries to declare
that was a really good
love.
episode, actually.
Yeah, we can do that. So let's shift right into that.
No, my notes are gone.
Dave, of course, first we have our officially award-winning opening segment, Shining in the Heavens, There Are 5 Stars. What is our first star of the week?
So our first star of the week, Matt, as it is always, is Isolation Update.
Yes, Isolation Update.
Isolation Update.
How are you, Dave? I know we've already sort of gone through this a bit.
Yeah, we've already sort of gone through this. So, I mean, So, we didn't have an episode the last 2 weeks. Obviously, you may have noticed. It just didn't feel okay to joke about Sentai over the course of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, like there's a lot of stuff going on right now that is perhaps more important to pay attention to than Dave and I making some jokes.
Definitely not. No perhaps about it. This is definitely way more important to pay attention to those things, and protests are continuing, as they very well should. I unabashedly support that. I'm very much for it. We are, I think I mentioned, Beth and Sugarbean both have pre-existing lung conditions, and so we are not really able to go out in public right now. We're still staying very, very close to home, and so we haven't been able to get out to join those protests. But if I would say that if you can, you should.
Yes,
that's
co-signed. It's a tricky thing, right? Because like right now with the global pandemic and the like righteous indignation of the protests in the streets, it feels somehow morally irresponsible to both go out and stay home.
Yeah, there is not, and like
Well,
and like, man,
honestly,
listen,
I think is sort of. And I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
That kind of feels like a bit of a good correlation to the way that I have felt about doing the podcast for the last couple of weeks. Like, on one hand, like, listen, we do not have a big platform. I see the download numbers of this show. Thank you for listening.
Sure.
But I know that our numbers are not legion. You know, like, on one hand, like, this technically is a platform. And if you have a platform to sort of be saying this sort of stuff, you should be using it, right? But on the other hand, there are a lot of other better voices to be listening to than me right now.
Yeah, man.
So it has been sort of tricky to figure out sort of like what to be doing.
Yeah, and I think it's very good to say, and I think this is really good advice that maybe stop talking for a lot of people. Like, stop talking and start listening, and you should. But this show is literally just us talking,
right?
So.
Yeah.
It would be a very weird hour of audio if it were just
you and I, like
you,
right?
Right. I mean, I guess you and I could listen in silence to something on our own headsets.
Right. That's not going to be
bad.
That's not going to be super satisfying for the listeners, though.
Yeah, that would not
Dave,
be great.
At some point, we need to grapple with the fact that this show has a real diversity problem.
Listen, there's Tall Steve.
No, I mean you and I.
Oh, well, yes.
But there's
Matt.
nothing we can really do about that one.
It's just the two of us. And so we've been thinking, and here's the other thing is that I've mentioned this a handful of times on the show. It doesn't come up a whole lot, but my kids are not biological kids. They're foster kids, and we're adopting them. And but they're black and we're white. And so I don't have. It's certainly not totally unique as a white dude, but it is certainly an unusual perspective as a white dude to have black kids. Like, most white people have white kids, and my kids are black. And I don't know what I have to say about that, but if I figure it out, I'll mention it to you.
Keep me posted.
I guess the only thing that I can think to say is that, like, if my kid went to Wendy's and didn't come back, I'd be pretty inclined to burn this shit to the ground too. So,
yeah,
I don't know, man. I don't have anything. I don't know what to say about it, other than, like, the indignation is righteous, and people should keep protesting until it changes.
Absolutely.
That's kind of all I got. You don't want to listen to two knuckleheads talk about this anymore.
Yeah. Anyway, Dave, that leads us to our second star of the week, which is mercifully a lot easier to talk about.
So what, Matt, is our second star of the week?
Dave, our second star of the week is that the weather has been getting nicer.
Oh man, it's been getting so much nicer. It was really, really hot for like 2 days. It was awful.
Oh yeah, I pulled my air conditioning unit out of the basement. I set it up for 2 days and then immediately took it back down because the weather, like, we had one big rainstorm and the temperature dropped like 20 degrees in about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. And so I've just moved my air conditioner into the spare room where it awaits another season a couple of weeks from now, probably. But because it has been nice out, I have been getting back into taking long walks after work, which is so nice. I mean, when I say after work, I just I work from home now always.
Right.
And so I am home, and it's very nice to be out of the apartment, because I think I mentioned at one point that, like, during April, I just did not leave, like, the property that my apartment sits on.
Yeah, that's tight, man.
I've been getting the twins
out. I've been getting the twins out for walks, and they have been really, really, really digging it.
Yeah. Now, Dave, here is the thing about my walks recently, is that, as I have mentioned, I live fairly close to Lake Erie. Specifically, I live fairly close to Edgewater Park, which is like if you're not from the Northeast Ohio area, it is the sort of like the park beach bit that is like the largest part of that on the sort of like near west side, close to downtown Cleveland, right? Like there are other beaches up and down Lake Erie, but like insofar as like this part of the city goes, this is like the one big one, right? But because of the pandemic, a lot of the like the park itself is not closed down, right? But to discourage people from like all congregating at the park, they have closed off parts of the parking lots for the park.
Oh, so like you can only get so many cars in, and therefore, logically, you will also limit the number of people.
Theoretically, yeah. Especially there's like a sort of side beach directly to the left of Edgewater that has its own parking lot, and that's just been closed for, they never reopened it when the season came around. But the thing is that is not stopping literally anyone, because what is happening instead is that they're all like, everyone drives to that parking lot, realizes that it's closed, and it's just like, oh, well, I'll park on the street. And what is astonishing to me is that they have continued to do this for weeks and weeks, despite the fact that you absolutely cannot park on those streets. Like there are signs posted everywhere and cars are constantly getting ticketed. And so as I'm going on my afternoon walks, it is much more crowded than it normally is, which is not ideal given the circumstances. But also I'm just walking past like ticketed car after ticketed car every day. But it's been really another weird thing that I saw on the walks was that there were a bunch of people sitting in a front yard, and some of them appeared to be the people who lived there. Some of them were just people who were like walking down the sidewalk who had sort of stopped in front of this house because the owners of this house had like hired a string duet to stand in front of their house and like put on a show, I guess because live music is very difficult to come by and they wanted to do something, right? And when I had my headphones in, I was listening to a podcast as I was walking past, and I was like, oh, how nice. What a fun, cool thing. Like how, like this is, like the neighborhood doing a, they're all, like they're in the yard, but they're all sort of like standing sort of apart from each other. Right,
separate and, yeah.
People across the street who had been walking by sort of like slowing down and stopping and sitting on the tree lawn to listen to it. And I took my headphones out and I realized that what they were playing was like a violin and a cello playing Hey Jude. And was immediately repelled by this. And listen, I'm a Beatles guy.
I know you are, yeah.
Hey Jude is a song I like. It's not my favorite Beatles song, not even off my favorite album, but it's a good song.
Yeah.
But like, it's not the sort of song that you love for its like beautiful melody, I don't think. And especially for like a 2-part string group. Like, man, like I did not stick around to see how long they went through the na 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 Hey Judes, but like they didn't skip that part of the song.
Well, you can't, right? It's like the most recognizable portion of the song,
right? Anyway, so walks have been weird recently. Dave, have you taken any interesting ones?
Nope. Only, I took a walk. The twins are just getting older, and so there's a lot like we bring the stroller with us, and they like walk next to the stroller, and then they sort of like hop in and hop out. But it's just pretty crazy because like they're just getting like they're 3.5 now, and they are just like they're just full on kids. Like they're not, like they're not babies anymore. They're not toddlers anymore. Like, they're still small kids, but like. They're just kids, and they can talk to you and have like full conversations and express themselves and like listen to directions, albeit poorly. So that's pretty wild. But no, the walks are just the same walks that we've been doing for the last 3 years. What, Matt, is our third star of the week?
The third star of the week is that as you know, currently live sports are canceled.
Correct.
And also the upcoming Summer Olympics.
Huge blow to us.
The upcoming Summer Olympics have been canceled. Or at least postponed.
Yeah. They have been postponed. That is pretty wild, particularly because you and I actually already had like Tokyo 2020 Olympic merch.
That's true. Actually, we do.
Yeah.
I've got like an enamel pin and a towel, a decorative towel.
Yeah.
I was actually, I don't know if I mentioned this on the show. I was going to go because our sister lives pretty close to where they're doing some of the events. I was going to like take a vacation this summer to like go to Tokyo to visit her, and we were going to like go to the Olympics. And that obviously is not happening, at least this summer.
Yeah, definitely not.
But what I realized one day, I was like, wait a second. The Olympics have been going on intermittently for a very long time. And and like they have been filmed. And so I just went, I just like hopped on YouTube and I was like, I want to watch the 1994 Lillehammer Winter Olympics. And I just popped it up and there's tons of it. And like, it's been on what I thought was going to happen is like, oh, 1994. There's no way I remember anything from the 1994 Winter Olympics. That was ages ago. It'll be like I'm watching it all again new. And then when I started watching it, I realized the 1994 Winter Olympics was Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding. And I was like, oh, okay, no, I remember all of this. And then then there was a bunch of other stuff like, oh, yeah, Elvis Stoico. I remember that guy from Canada. And like every name that came up of every like figure skater, I was like, well, yeah, sure. I can't remember any of them, the rest of them off the top of my head right now, but like every one of them was like, I remember this person. I remember watching this in 1994. I remember the entire like narrative of this person as it was presented like through the TV. It is wild to go back and watch that stuff and realize how deeply some of that just like imprinted on my young brain. But also, watching all the Olympics is great.
I found a, what do you call it? I found a picture book from when I was a kid. And as soon as I opened it up, I immediately was like, oh man, I didn't remember that I remembered these pictures, but I do.
Yeah. Anyway, if you are sad about the Olympics or missing whatever live sports you would like to be watching right now, a lot of it's on YouTube, folks. Get at it. Anyway, Dave, what is our fourth star of the week?
So our fourth star of the week is that I am still doing a lot of baking. Beth has actually asked me to stop because we are both, trying to watch what we eat. And I did not realize when I started baking, I was like, oh, like I'm just going to learn how to make croissants and like that'll kind of be that. And then it's really sort of spiraled from there.
Well, I mean, that when you make a croissant, you gotta spiral it up.
Yeah. And so that was not even anyways. And so I have been doing it a lot more, and I've been continuing. I've kind of been like bouncing around different croissant recipes, and I did find one. It's by a guy named Bruno Albouze, Albouze, and he is hilariously, I would say, almost aggressively French. But
you'd
he
love
is
to see it.
Yeah, but he is a patissier and a baker and stuff. He's from France, but he's in California now. And I watched his video and definitely had the best results I've ever had. You actually had some when you came over Saturday.
Oh yeah, they were great.
And yeah, I realized that I've been hugely under-kneading my dough. That I think has been my biggest problem, is that I've been really, really way under kneading my dough. And so I need it. And now I think I just need to mess with like the temperature in my oven, because my oven it's fine, but it's not like super great. So I think I need to sort of tweak the cooking time and temperature, but I basically have it cracked. So that's nice. My oldest foster daughter turned 17. Today it's her birthday, and I made her like a lemon meringue tart with like a walnut crust. So that's cool.
I have not been doing any pastry stuff myself. I've been sticking to just doing bread, specifically just doing the same loaf of bread over and over.
No, that's how you do it, man. That's how Beth learned to make bread.
Yeah. So, but the thing is that the dough the bread I've been making is a no knead dough. Like you put the stuff in the bowl and you mix it up, and then like 12 to 18 hours later, you take it out, you fold it over once or twice, and then like wait another 2 hours, and then you put it in the oven, and then it's bread.
Right.
So the thing is that like most of the loaves of bread I've made have been very solid. But the few that I've screwed up, because there are only like 4 steps to doing it, it is frustrating because I'm like, I know that I just did one thing wrong, and because there's only 4 variables, I know which one of those things it was. Like, it's very easy to point to my own mistakes.
Yeah, I would suggest do a loaf that requires some kneading. It's very satisfying.
I believe you. I don't have a ton of counter space, which is kind of which is sort of a limiting factor of like how much
I
like,
can see where that would be a
working I
problem.
can do. But yeah, it's been working out really nicely.
Nice. What, Matt, is our 5th star of the week?
Our 5th star of the week is... Oh, I wasn't done talking about bread. Dave, there's one more thing I want to say about bread. Is that I've got like a toaster oven set up in place of where I used to have my microwave set up. My microwave is on vacation right now. I moved it to the basement to see if I could get away with just not using it because it takes up a lot of room. And so I've been I've been making bread, and I have a toaster oven, so I've been making toast. But because I'm also making the bread, like, I do all this stuff, I make the bread is made, and then later I'll like cut a piece of it's just wild to me, the idea of like, I've done all this work to make bread, and then I have to cut off a slice and cook it again for like 4 minutes, just a few minutes, to make it like another thing. The idea of toast has always seemed very mundane to me, but now that I'm also making the bread, the idea of toast is like this weird extravagance, and I can't quite put my finger on like how to describe it. Yeah. But it's like, yes, this took you 20 hours to make, but it's not done yet because you need to slice a little bit off and cook it for 5 more minutes.
Just a tiny bit, yeah.
Anyway, 5th star of the week is video games.
Have you been playing anything? I think I might grab. There's a huge sale on right now. I think I might finally grab Hitman 2.
Oh, I know you're a big Hitman fan.
I am.
I have been playing. I realized that I had sort of gotten in a rut of only playing like either roguelikes or open world games, just like big, sprawling. You can just sort of like throw yourself at it kind of indefinitely. And have it like absorb a bunch of your time because I had a lot of time to let it absorb, frankly. So I was playing I was playing Fallout 76, I was playing Animal Crossing, I was playing Dead Cells, a lot of just like big open games. And I realized that like I missed games that had an ending and like a very specific like campaign story mode.
Right, like you start and then you end and then it's done.
So I've been playing Dishonored 2, which is really fun. But I also played all the way through Ace Combat 7, Skies Unknown, because it was free with the Game Pass. And I was like, oh, sure, it's like an airplane game. I'll get in an airplane and I'll fly around and I'll do like airplane missions. That'll be fun.
Right, love it.
And what I realized is pretty much as soon as I started, I was like, oh, this isn't just like an airplane combat sim game. This is like some like grade A Gundam Wing nonsense, but with airplanes instead of mecha. It's like a mecha anime, but instead of mechs, it's just planes. Like the story of this game is hilarious and like so overwrought. It's like, okay, there's this continent that's constantly at war. And the last time they were at war, like to form peace, they got together to build a space elevator. But now there's like a new war, but it's all like there's a lot of drones, like drone planes involved. But the drone planes are programmed using the flight patterns of this old man who was the ace pilot from 2 wars ago, but he's still alive and can still fly, and they're having him fly so that they can like pattern the drone planes after what his brain does. And you are like a guy who gets sentenced to prison, but like prison in an Air Force base. So you get put into like a squadron of all like convicts, and you're doing like a suicide squad thing where like, we'll just throw you at our problem. But then in the end, you end up saving the whole war because you're the best pilot in the universe or something. It's amazing.
Yeah, that sounds pretty wild. I mean, is it also a good pilot game?
I mean, I don't play a lot of pilot games, so I don't have a lot of like perspective, but I had a lot of fun with it.
Right,
this is how anime this game is. One of the voices was done by Steve Bloom.
Oh wow, yeah.
So like it's very anyway. That's all I had to talk about. Really at all. And I think then it is time for us to take a break and talk about episode 10 of Denji Sentai Megaranger. It is called Farewell, Sorrowful Android. Its original air date was 4/20/1997, April 20th. It was written by Naruhisa Arakawa. We're going to take a break, and we will be right back. Okay, welcome back. Episode 10, the episode so nice, I've watched it thrice.
Okay, well, that actually will even out, because I actually did only watch it the one time, and that was 2 weeks ago, and I had planned to watch it again, but the day kind of got away from me. So I'm just updating in the notes. Yeah, and a lot of, like, positive energy about it. Here is something that I wanted to bring up that I don't think I've mentioned yet. Because I was, as I was watching the episode, I was watching like the opening bits, which normally like I kind of lied over, but they show us like a little cut in for each ranger, and Kenta is eating, and Koichiro is exercising, and Shun is at a computer, and Chisato is studying, and Miku is just playing at a fountain and eating candy, and I feel like they've just really nailed all 5. Like, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Because it tells me everything about all 5 rangers.
Especially because Miku is both eating candy and, like, clumsily failing to eat candy. She's, like, trying to open the bag of candy and it just, like, explodes.
Yeah, they do a great job. So anyways, the episode itself.
We begin nighttime in the city.
Hot down.
Somewhere in the city. Back of my neck feeling
dirty and gritty.
Bend down. Isn't that a pity? Doesn't seem to be any shadows in the city.
All around the people
looking half dead, walking on the sidewalk, hotter than a match head.
Anyways.
There's probably no way that is going to sync up in any way to sound good.
No, yeah, definitely will not. But that is a great song.
Great song. You know what I realized, Dave? Totally unrelated to this episode, but very related to 2 people trying to sing over the internet together. Have you seen on the internet, since all of this pandemic stuff has been going on, the bits where like they'll have a band all like on a Zoom call playing a song together, or like the cast of a musical getting together? Yeah, there's been
a number of these. Yeah, there's a lot of these going around.
Yeah, you ever tried to do that in real life? Those are all presented as though they are happening in real time, but they are 100% all recording their bits separately and editing them together.
You know, of course. That would be madness to try to do it all.
We tried to like sing happy birthday to one of the people on my team at work, and like the horrid cacophony that ensued. I was like, oh yeah, no, all of that stuff is edited like to the gills.
Well, I mean, not to peel back the curtain too much and show you how the sausage is made, but I mean, that's absolutely why we do the show. That's why we do our show that way.
Well, that's true, yeah.
So, you know, with you, like you kind of do your full half and then you send me the audio and then I just kind of record into the gaps.
Yeah, to sort of like, fill it out.
So you can get a really clean edit.
Yeah, and it's always difficult because I have to sort of like have a stopwatch to like constantly going to figure out how much time I'm going to leave between my sentences to give you time to be able to say something. And then sometimes I don't leave quite enough time.
The upside of it, the upside of doing it that way is that I can kind of Groundhog Day my responses. Like I can try something and see if it works, and if it kind of fits in just into what you were going to say. So, but it's a little more effort, but we think it's worth it to present you with the really polished product that we do.
Yeah, the audio fidelity we get doing it this way is unparalleled.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So it's traffic at night, back of my neck feeling dirty and gritty, and there is a lady. And she's walking in traffic, and she has what is very obvious. She's just a lady. Mm-hmm. She's not evil in any way, except she has a wand. It's not a wand. It starts off looking like a wand, but it's a flute. And it is 100% an evil flute.
An evil, magical, bat-themed flute.
Yeah, it's an extremely evil flute.
She stands in the middle of the road and, prepares to play the flute, lifts it up to her face. And then as she is doing this, a huge truck just bears down on her, and the show actually doesn't,
because she has she just is standing in the middle of the road. She doesn't have a reflective gear on or anything.
No, she is wearing all white. I will give her that. So he probably should have seen her, but the show actually does some nice camera work to show you that this woman gets hit by a truck without showing you her getting hit by a truck.
Yeah.
The truck driver stops, runs out, goes over to her. She's rolled over to the side of the road. He runs over and is like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" And she just turns, gets up, looks at him, stands to her feet, and then he's still sort of crouched down because he had crouched down to check on her. She stands up, looks down at him, and smiles. And he, I think very reasonably, completely loses it and just runs away shrieking.
Yeah.
She is sort of confused by this this reaction.
Yeah, she's like, "What's going on?"
I smiled at him. That's why would you scream about that?
Yeah, so she just sort of wanders away
without her flute, though, because the flute has been broken in the car accident. We see it sort of in two pieces on the street. Yeah.
So we go from there to the school, and the school day is over, and the girls have somehow managed to convince Kenta to carry all their bags, and they all say, "Oh, we're all gonna go hang out at the movies or something." And Miku specifically asks Shun, she's like, "Hey, it would be really cool, we're all going, so it's not a date, but she's kind of asking him out, it would be very cool if you specifically came to the movies because I specifically would like to hang out with you."
Right, she says, "I know you wanted to see this movie. I got 2 tickets. Let's go."
Oh, that's right. They're the only ones that they were planning to go to the movie.
Yeah, and Shun is like, thanks, but no thanks. I don't actually feel like doing that. I'll catch you cats later. Have a good one.
Everybody's extremely confused about this, particularly Miku.
Right. Miku throughout the course. Okay. In this episode, it is going to seem as though Miku is in love with Shun and wants to go on dates with him. That has not been the case in the show prior to this episode, and I don't know if it's going to happen after this episode, but during the 2 days of this episode at least, Miku definitely has a thing for Shun and wants to go on dates with him.
Yeah, for sure. So everybody's confused, and Chisato, I think it's Chisato. Chisato says, "Listen,
it's
I know that
Kuchuru,
seems
actually.
weird." Thank you, sorry. So it's Kuchuru. So Kuchuru says, "Listen, I know that was weird, but if for somehow you guys did not know, which would be weird because they're all supposed to be super besties," but Kuchuru's like, "Listen, today is actually the anniversary of Shun's mom's death. She was this world-renowned flautist, and she, she died on this day, a number of years ago. So it's not you, Miku. It's just Shun's dead mom."
Right. he needs to go off and like Bruce Wayne it somewhere, like, you know, in a field. So speaking of that, we cut to a field. Actually, we cut to a flashback in the field where a young Shun, I mean younger than he is in the show, is listening to his mom play the flute, and she's playing this very nice song. And when we cut sort of from the flashback back to the regular time, we can see that Shun, who like has his mother's flute, is himself playing the song that his mother was playing in the flashback. And he's sort of, you know, like sad and wistful and thinking about his mom. When suddenly, another flautist appears.
Yeah, now I was confused because I thought that, like, somehow this was his mom and that they had, like, gotten the memory of Shun's mom and turned that into a monster. It's not. It's just the android. And
spoilers, Dave. We don't know she's an android yet.
Oh, sorry.
Although the title of this episode is "Farewell, Sorrowful Android." So
so it's not like not a huge bubble to pop.
You should be able to tell two things from that. One, there's an android, and two, at the end of this episode, we're gonna say farewell to her.
Yeah, she's gone. She is not a recurring character. I am going to note this only one time, but you should keep in mind, if you sort of envision these episodes as you're like listening to us talk about them, just envision anytime somebody plays the flute, they never move their hands.
And if they ever do, it is so out of sync with what the sounds are supposed to be happening. It is like, comical.
There is not even the vaguest effort to make it look as though they are playing. Like, you would not even think that these people were playing a flute if it were a still photograph. Like, their hands are so far from being anything even vaguely, like, correct for playing the flute. So just, if you're imagining someone playing the flute, don't. Just imagine someone standing there with, like, a speaker behind them, and that's where the flute music is coming from.
It must be, because, like, listen, if I were holding a flute, I don't know how to play the flute, but if I were holding the flute and I was listening to the song, I would be able to move my fingers in some sort of rhythm that would make it look, if you didn't know how to play the flute, that at least I was moving my fingers at the right time, which might indicate that I was doing the right thing.
Like your fingers would be on the keys, or something.
In this case, they were just like, I don't know. They probably hadn't like figured out what song they were going to play yet, and they were like, well, you can't move your fingers because if you do, it's not going to match the song because we don't know what the song is. So just stand it. We're going to pan past you pretty quickly. No one's going to be talking about this extensively in like 20 years, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. So Shun plays this song, and the android sees him, and she's like, oh, may I? Like, and indicates, like, could you please let me see that flute? And Shun says, sure, complete stranger. I will absolutely hand you my dead mother's world-renowned flute. No problem.
I mean,
let's see what you do with this priceless family heirloom.
I mean, she's a pretty girl and Shun's a high schooler. Like...
Oh, yeah, no. Never, you don't even have to say anything else. Yeah, of course he would. He would, yeah.
So she then plays the exact same song. It sounds the exact same because they are just playing that audio file again.
Yeah. And then they stand there for several hours, unmoving and presumably unspeaking, while the sun goes from, like, early afternoon to full-on sunset. And then they talk again. We don't see that happen. It's just what must have happened.
Right, based on the lighting decisions they've made.
Right. In one shot, it's like 3 o'clock, and then the next shot, it's sunset.
So later that night, all around the city, you see this girl walking around with the evil flute, just playing a different tune, an evil tune.
An extremely evil tune.
And as she does, she is like inciting riots cars are crashing into each other, people are getting into fights, there are fires, there are explosions. It is very creepy. It again makes me wonder what this show's car crash budget is, because there are at least 4 cars that they very seriously damage. And like it ends on a shot of like her walking down the street with fire behind her as she continues to play this tune.
Yeah, it's a pretty good shot. I assume they must just have some sort of like used car hookup, because for a show with presumably like the fairly low budget, like television wise, of Super Sentai, those dudes crash a lot of cars.
Yeah, like it's not that they crash a car every episode, but every episode where they crash a car, they crash 6 cars.
I certainly would not say that they are shy about crashing cars.
Yeah. It's upsetting, is what it is. Now, at the end of this, like, montage of destruction, the camera pans up and we see Bat Nezare from the previous episode, but now he's sort of, like, rebuilt. He's got, like he's like, battle damaged, but also, like, altered in some ways. It's not just that he's worse, it's that he's been, like, reconfigured.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to say it. This is like the pretty classic, like, oh, the monster was destroyed and then they have like rebuilt him with like some robot-y parts and blah, blah, blah.
We will later find out that he is now calling himself Neo Bat Nezare, and I assume it's the same monster that has been rebuilt and not a new monster that has been built like using the bits of the other one.
Yeah, no, I think that's very much the case. Oh, there is something I wanted to mention, Matt, about the cars. And the thing that I wanted to mention with the cars is that when you'd said that they crashed, they did like crash and explode and catch on fire. And also, there was not like a quick shot of the people driving those cars, like quick ducking out or like duck rolling out of the cars before they crashed. So just like those people are 100% dead. Like, no question.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that is
Yeah, no, it is a bad scene. I mean, it's a good scene in the TV show. It is a bad situation for the people involved.
So the next thing we see is Shun is with the flute. This is like a flashback to when he met her, the android, I guess. And before she leaves, Shun's with the flute, and he's remembering saying like, "Oh, well, it's been very nice to meet you. I'm Shun. Who are you?" And she just says, "You make up a name for me," and then sort of like Manic Pixie Dreams girls her way away. Which, Shun, I know that you have not been a superhero for a very long time, but as a superhero, that is never an okay answer.
Yes.
Like anybody who gives you that answer is automatically part of an evil plot.
So Shun is, instead of being worried about this, he is just sort of daydreaming about whoever this girl is. And the other 4 Mega Rangers are spying on him through a window. And Miku is, as previously mentioned, like weirdly suddenly invested in wanting to date Shun, and like heartbroken by the suggestion that he is daydreaming about another girl.
Yeah. Dr. Kubota interrupts and he's like, "Hey, y'all, there's been terrible violence all over the world, so many places." And Shun rejoins them at this point, or like at some point he just shows up off screen, but he's there about to say something. And Dr. Kubota says, "Everywhere there is violence, we see this one specific girl. And she's always got this flute," and then everybody flips. So we don't know what the deal is, but like, obviously something bad is happening.
And then they see a picture of the girl, and obviously it is the girl from before. So Shun like sees this picture and just like gets a panicked look in his face and just runs away.
Yeah, he totally flips out. What we then see is Bat Nezare and
Neo Bat Nezare.
Neo Bat Nezare, and he's got a bunch of these androids. So it's not that the one that Shun met is like somehow traveling all over the world. There's just like 500 copies of this android, and he met one of them.
Yeah, so basically, like, if you recall from the previous episode, Bat Nezare, like, sent out these bats out of this, like, thing in his chest, and those bats flew around and, like, influenced people's minds. Now, instead of having a bunch of bats, he has a bunch of, like, android flautists that have kind of taken their place.
Yes. And then we go from there to the Nezare dimension, and what we find out is it's like Dr. Hinalar and Shibalena or something, but they say, hey, this is going super great, except android number 167 is not following orders. Like, she's offline. We're not really sure what's going on, but, like, she's not doing the right thing, so figure it out and destroy her.
Yeah.
Like, go hunt her down, destroy her, so that the plan keeps going.
My favorite part about this scene is that they say, this time, since we're using human-shaped, like, creatures to disseminate the mind control, no one will notice like they did when we were using bats.
Right.
Like, but they have considered that they should have used, like, I don't know, different looking people
robots,
instead of just
maybe?
having like an army of clone robots with like scary flutes. Because obviously they noticed. We know they noticed because Dr. Kubota showed us a photograph 2 seconds ago.
Well, that's the best part, is that we've already established in the continuity of the episode that they have very definitely noticed.
And so, like, Uganda is like, oh my gosh, Dr. Hinalar, that's such a great idea. You're a genius. But we, the viewers, know that that is not the case.
So Shun goes back to that same spot, and of course, she's just
there.
They're actually, now, I say that, they actually do give a vague explanation as to why she's there. Shun's like, what's going on? Why are you here? Who are you? And she says, well, I only have memories of, like, this one place. So in that sense, it kind of does make, it's logical that she would just kind of hang out there because, like, where else is she going to go?
Right.
Kind of.
Like, this isn't her home, but, like, it's, you know, it's as good as anywhere else when you don't know anything.
Right.
And, you know, like, she had a nice day there yesterday, so maybe it'll happen again.
Maybe.
Shun's here again. She's pleased to see him. He is pleased to see her. You know who is not pleased to see her are the other 4 Megarangers who have followed Shun to the park. Now, at first, her back is to them, so they don't realize that this is android number 167. They're just like, oh my gosh, Shun is here with the girl.
There she is. Right, like, that's...
Kenta says, like, I can't believe that he's out here with a girl when we have Megaranger stuff to be doing. And
like, come on, man.
And Miku hops in to agree very quickly.
Yeah, Miku is extremely salty.
In fact, she is
extremely salty about all of this.
She is so quick to agree and so salty about it that, like, Kenta and Koichiro, like, look at her funny, and Chisato has to, like, step in and be like, no, yes, you are totally right.
Yeah, like, that is bad or whatever.
It's a nice Chisato moment of, like, her, like, sort of, like, covering for Miku.
No, it is. It's very nice.
He's a good kid, Steve.
They are. They're extremely good.
So she turns around, and Kenta sees her face, and immediately runs over and is like, hey, you're like an evil mind control person. What are you doing with our Shun? How are you trying to seduce him? This is terrible. You're terrible. And Shun jumps in and is like, wait, Kenta, hold on.
Like hold up, my dude.
Stop 100% of what you're doing. Koichiro is like, well, yes, but, like, you see her face, right? Like, do you remember the briefing from mere moments ago? This is the person.
Where, like, it is very definitely her.
And Shun is, like, trying to come up with a response to this, but is thankfully stopped from having to think too hard, because Neo Bat Nezare immediately appears and starts attacking them.
Yeah, that he does solve that problem pretty quickly, which is very convenient of him.
Did he have like a Wolverine claw on one hand last episode? Because he definitely
did
now.
actually. Yeah, no, he does. It's more of like a Vega claw, but
It's
yeah,
more like a Vega claw.
So, this is amazing. Shun drops like a whole new power that we did not know he had.
Oh, virtual
and here's
vision.
What that power is. It's virtual vision. And what it is that he uses his like Sentai power to insert. Really what it is it's closest to like a classic like Green Ranger illusion power. He inserts Neobat Nezare into like a holodeck, like a hostile holodeck, where there's like a gangster movie going on, and everybody is just using Tommy guns to shoot Neobat Nezare.
It's very good. He places him in a movie titled let's see, I wrote this down so that I can make sure I had it right. Virtual Vision Theater, Neobat Nezare in Jeopardy.
Yeah.
He gets shot about 100 times.
It's quite a bit.
And what's really fun about it is that as this happens, like, the way that the show suggests to you that he is inside a movie is that, like, it doesn't fill up the whole screen anymore. It like chops off bits of the screen to make it look like he's in like a widescreen shot, like in a movie theater.
Yeah, it's real cool.
Neobat Nezare does not fare well during this attack, and as he gets out, he's like, you've defeated me for now, but I'll get you yet.
Yeah.
And he just, he gets out of there.
Yeah, he dips. So we go from there real quickly to INET Medical, and the girl is in a coma, and Dr. Kubota arrives, and he's like, hey, like, she's definitely an android. Technically, she's a gynoid, but whatever.
Okay.
Because she's a ladybot. Anyways, that's not I mean, it is a dumb joke because I split hairs about it, but I did not invent the phrase gynoid.
That is not a term I had heard before.
Yeah.
So he says, like, listen, I'm just going to use android because that's what they say in the show.
No, that's fine. I'm being dummy.
They say, okay, this is an android. This is a malfunctioning android because what has happened is, like, this unit has a radio receiver in it that is meant to receive instruction from like an outside source, probably Neobat Nezare, but it looks as though that component has been damaged by like some like high impact blunt force trauma. So at the beginning of the episode, when she got hit by the truck, it like damaged her in such a way that it freed her from being controlled by Neobat Nezare.
Yes. Now, of course, she herself is unaware of this. Like, she doesn't know.
Right, because she also is
not
like,
even
whatever the android version of amnesia is, that's what she's got.
Yeah, it's not even clear that she knows that she's an android.
No, I don't believe she is. Like, actually, I think it is clear later in the episode that she did not know that up to this point.
Yeah. So,
and they say, like, well, okay, Dr. Kubota, like, so what's our next step?
Like, what do we do?
And apparently the next step is like, well, she needs to be dismantled. She is a robot made by the Nezare, and we don't know what her capabilities are. This could very easily go badly for us, so we're just going to take her off the table.
Shun is horrified by this.
Right. You're not going to dismantle his new cute robot girlfriend.
Yeah. So he, like, tears off, beats the snot out of the guards that are, like, outside of her room, wakes her up, and then, like, they run.
Yeah, Dr. Kubota, like, calls him on his digitizer. And he's like, dude, Shun, you are making a mistake. What are you doing, my man? And Shun is like, listen.
And he's like,
I know I'm doing bad.
But, like, I'm a teenage boy. This is my pretty new robot girlfriend, and also she plays the flute like my dead mom. Like, what do you want from me, man? Like my options are extremely limited here. So I'm just doing my best.
So, because this show has spent all of its budget on blowing up a few cars and only has 2 sets, we go back to the high school, and they are hiding out in the music room of the high school.
In the music room, I guess they could have been hiding out in like the digital research lab, and that would have been marginally more obvious. This is the second most obvious room that they could have chosen to hide in.
Well, as we'll see in a moment, it's not an effective hiding spot.
It is not, because she even says like, you can come to school here. She very definitely cannot do that, shouldn't, but whatever. And he says, I'll beat Bat Nezare and then you'll be safe. But then Bat Nezare is in the room and he does attack them right then.
So he like scratches Shun across the face and scratches number 167 across the arm. And when he does that, there's like an exposed bit of like circuitry that's sparking on her like right arm.
She freaks out about that.
Shun runs over to like stop him from killing her. They both tumble out the window. Shun manages to transform like on the way down. By the way, Shun transforms 3 times during this episode.
It's real good.
He transforms 3 times during this episode, and at no point does he like do the full transformation sequence. It's always this like while running or jumping or shouting transition. It's great.
Yeah, he does. It's a bunch of great henshins.
They land outside the school and are immediately like on a field next to the beach. And I know that I feel like we've kind of gotten away from talking about the geography of this show and how it can shift very rapidly. But
it's pretty, we go right from like very definitely at the school to very definitely at the beach.
And what's weird is in a second, android number 167 is going to seem to be watching this fight from the window of the music room and then just immediately be there, which seems to suggest that this school is like directly on the beach. But no other actual shots of the school up to this point have given us that sort of indication.
No, they've very definitely been in sort of like the middle of a city, but whatever.
Yeah.
So here's what you got. So the rest of the Rangers show up. And the fight kind of gets rolling, and they're like, okay, well, we kind of already know this dude's deal. Like, he does sound wave attacks, so we just need to invert those, and then we'll be fine. So Miku is like, I'll analyze it using my satellite. But Neo Bat Nezare is upgraded, and he is producing like 5 or 6 different like overlapping sounds. And it kind of is shifting all over the place. So it's achieving the same effect, but you can't like counter frequency it in the same way that you could before.
Right. And so they're standing there, like holding their heads and writhing around because they just cannot fight this bat. Android number 167, however, looks out the window, sees all this happening, and then her arm like sparks again and she looks down at it and suddenly has a wave of memories come back to her, like of her creation and of her time like right before and leading up to the car crash. And it's really interesting because she's she's an android, so she's got like android memories.
Yeah.
And they are like the way that the show like presents that to you is that all of her memories are shown to you as like a sort of a staticky, flickering, like camera shot. Like as though it was not viewed by a person, it was like recorded by a machine, and we're seeing like a corrupted playback of it. It's very cool.
Yeah, it is. It's a really imaginative way to kind of handle that. So she shows up and she's like, she can do it. And so she pulls out her flute, and she uses her flute to counter Bat Nezare's noises. But she's running out of time.
Yes. And she does this for a little bit, and like he turns up his volume, and she plays the flute faster, which apparently is the same as doing it louder. I guess because flutes can only get so loud. And you need to change one of the variables, so you just do it faster, right? That's how sound works.
Yep, that makes sense.
And eventually, he has to crank his volume all the way up, and it does knock her over, but like for whatever reason, he has to like stop. He stops putting out his sound in that moment as well. Maybe he has to recharge his batteries or something. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But 167 goes down. This is the end. And Shun's like, why did you do it? And she's like, I wanted to save you. And then she gives him the flute, which is, it's his flute already, but she gives it back to him, I guess. And then she just like runs over to Bat Nezare and explodes.
Which is like sad, but also like, it's done to be sad, and it is sad, but also just watching her explode is kind of hilarious.
It's because it's so weirdly unexpected.
Like, it's unexpected, but I do really appreciate it because, like, well, she isn't, like she is not evil, but she is, like, a Nezare robot monster thing. And when you kill the monsters in these shows, they explode. And so the fact that she just, like, blows up is very unexpected, but also kind of perfect.
Yeah. So Shun flips out, and then we get an extremely good sequence. So Shun, like, has the flute. He throws it up into the air, kind of in the direction of Bat Nezare. Like, full-on power runs at Bat Nezare, like, through the explosions, pulls out, runs up, like, gets right up in his grill, pulls out his gun, and shoots Bat Nezare directly through the abdomen and, like, blasts out the other side. Bat Nezare collapses, and Shun just, like, reaches up and catches the flute that he threw.
It's extremely good.
Yeah, it's rad. So then, giant Bat Nezare, and then
no more giant Bat Nezare. Like, that's...
Yeah, it is in my notes. This is one of the shortest fights on record in Sentai. It's gotta be less than 10 seconds. Like, he goes giant, they summon Galaxy Mega, they cut him mid-air. Like, they don't even land before they activate Galaxy Saber.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
It's honestly kind of a shame that they did it at all, because the way that Shun defeated him looked so cool.
It was so much better.
And it was really, it's just like, it's just a hat on a hat. Like, you don't need that extra fight. But they did it, and then he's dead, and then that's the end of that. We cut from there to, like, later. They're all back at the park, and Shun is standing away from the other ones, and he's just like, standing there and looking out just staring out into the middle distance and letting, like, the wind blow through his beautiful hair, while the other four sort of watch him at a respectful distance. Miku is sad because she knows that Shun is hurting, but she doesn't know how to help him. And Chisato is like, listen, like, the way that you can help him is just, like, when you see him tomorrow, just be his friend the way that you do every day. Like, that is what he needs. And for a moment, I expected them to end the episode with them all walking over to him and, like, putting their arms around his shoulders and then let them, I don't know, going off to get lunch or something. But it doesn't. It just ends with him standing there sad and the rest of them watching him sadly.
Yep, that's...
It's a good episode, Dave.
It is. It's an extremely good episode.
That is it for that episode. But, of course, it is not it for our episode, because first, we need to determine where Bat Nezare / Neo Bat Nezare lands in the Creature Royale.
Yeah.
I like this dude, Dave.
Yeah, he's got a lot going for him. He has two very good plans.
Yes.
and he's got a good look, and he's in multiple episodes.
He's got two good looks.
So we kind of get that he's got a little bit more of an arc than a lot of monsters do.
Yeah, like he, he's not top 10, right?
No, definitely
because
not.
Number 10 is Birdcage Vagrant. But like, I think he's maybe, I was going to say top 25. Number 25 right now is Dr. Yagami.
So no, I don't think he is not at Dr. Yagami. Dr. Yagami has like a really extended arc, and he's like a key part of the series for like a full third of Kakuranger.
Okay.
Like the first third, Dr. Yagami's running around.
Okay, but like let's compare him to maybe like like 10 or 11 down from there, Lipstick Songstress.
That's actually just who I was looking at, because she also has kind of a similar vibe.
Yeah, like mind control, music.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think where he slots is like as a monster of the week, but who's a very good monster of the week. I would say he is right in that zone. I actually, number 40 is Ella Quinta, who is like the Speed Force Dimension Flash, but on a motorcycle.
Oh, that guy was also very good.
That guy's also very good. But again, he's cool, but he doesn't have much of a plan, and he's only in the one episode. So I think Neo Batnezere is right in that zone.
Okay.
If he's not cooler than Ella Quinta, I do like him more than XX Milano, the pizza maker.
Yeah, who was definitely memorable, but not as, like, good, maybe.
Yeah, and if we go down from there, we're in, like, Baramicron, Meteor Bem, Sarugami the Ninja Monkey, and I like him better than all of those dudes. So...
Okay, so...
I might say...
Maybe just above Ella Quinta?
I would say maybe just below Ella Quinta, because I've got kind of a soft spot for Ella Quinta, because he reminds me of the Flash. But
I think that's very respectable,
above.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll say Ella Quinta stays at number 40, but Neo Batnezere
is our new number 41.
New 41.
Right on. Well, Dave, then that is going to do it for another episode of The Spy Who Loved Megaranger. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you all that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. You want to get any updates on future episodes or check out the things that we're talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. If you like the show, and I hope that you do, remember that shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. If you want to rate, review, subscribe on there, or wherever it is that you find your podcasts, that would be pleasant of you. The Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. To listen to all the other great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can do it all at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.